Mercedes teased next Lewis Hamilton teammate, and it's not Esteban Ocon. Hamilton is currently partnered by Valtteri Bottas, who won the Australian Grand Prix. However, the Finn's future is up in the air as his contract expires at the end of the year. Daniel Ricciardo was in talks with Mercedes last summer, but he instead opted to join Renault. But now the Silver Arrows have uploaded a picture to Twitter of Hamilton and Ricciardo with the caption, "Not sure about the rest of you guys, but we're totally shipping this new bromance," and the pair have also exchanged social media posts, which was sparked by a child calling Ricciardo Daniel Avocado. Esteban Ocon is the third and reserve driver for Mercedes after failing to land a seat for this season. But supporters are now hopeful Toto Wolff will be able to bring Ricciardo to the reigning champions. "Maybe you should have made him an offer then," one fan tweeted. While another added, "Avocado working his moves for the future." And a further user wrote, "Give him a seat already then." Ricciardo expressed his frustration earlier this year that talks with Mercedes amounted to nothing. "I felt like my pull, so to speak, couldn't have been any higher," he said. "In a way, I did expect probably more out of that, and at the time I think rightly so. Especially after the first 6 races of 2018. I won 2 out of 6, so it was Seb, Vettel, Lewis and me who had won 2 each. At that stage no one else was really touching us." Next news: Mercedes will evaluate Ferrari's aero concept. Despite trouncing Ferrari at the Australian GP, Mercedes will continue to look into Ferrari's different philosophies when it comes to their aerodynamic package for 2019. Ferrari set the pace in pre-season testing with their SF90 sporting a very different design concept to Mercedes W10. However, when the chips were down and the season began, it was Mercedes who emerged victorious. Valtteri Bottas claimed the victory last Sunday in Melbourne, 20s up the road from his teammate Lewis Hamilton and a massive 57s ahead of 4th-placed Sebastian Vettel. But while it may on paper look as if Mercedes have put out the better aerodynamic package, team boss Toto Wolff says they will continue to evaluate other teams' concepts. "I think you need to evaluate all the various philosophies that are out there," Wolff told Autosport when asked specifically about Ferrari's aero package. "You must stay open-minded and humble about your own way. But, at the same time, you must follow what you think is right and don't let yourselves be confused. We just look at the various concepts and continued to stick to our philosophy. But you might see different aero parts throughout the season at different tracks." Next news: Bahrain will give true order, claims Horner. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner believes the Bahrain Grand Prix will give a better example of the 2019 pecking order. The Austrian outfit made the podium in the season-opening Australian GP, with Max Verstappen finishing ahead of both Ferraris to claim P3. The Dutchman even had a good look at Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes, but Horner says his team are not getting carried away, claiming Albert Park has a special characteristic that could have played with a true order. Speaking to Motorsport Total, he said, "It's still too early to talk about the championship. The podium was a great moment for Honda, but the race at Albert Park is also not the benchmark for the pecking order in Formula One, because the track has a special characteristic." Mercedes surprised with its pace and Ferrari rather disappointed. Whether this is really a trend, can only be evaluated after the race in Bahrain. Horner was keen, however, not to take away from the team and Honda's achievement in Melbourne. "We are proud of the performance and are happy with the Honda product," added Horner. "I hope this is the start of a strong season. The goal of Red Bull is still to close the gap on Mercedes and Ferrari. But we have had a good start and need to build on this positive energy now. Verstappen took it further by saying that the Chinese Grand Prix would be the event which showed Red Bull where they are in comparison with their rivals. Starting the season with a podium in Australia is really positive, but Melbourne is not a typical circuit, so we can't get carried away, he explained. I don't think we will really know where we stand until after China. Next news: Gasly cannot wait for Bahrain GP. Pierre Gasly cannot wait for the Bahrain Grand Prix as he targets a stronger outing at one of his favorite tracks. The Frenchman endured a tough start to life at Red Bull, after a strategical error eliminated him from qualifying in Q1, before he spent most of the Australian GP stuck behind Toro Rosso man Daniel Kvyat. However, Bahrain is a track that Gasly knows well, having pulled off a stunning P4 finish in Sakir last year. Now, the 23-year-old is targeting a similar performance, armed with better machinery in 2019. Speaking to Formula One, he said, "Bahrain is one of my favorite races. I had my best result in Formula One there last year with a 4th place, so for me, Bahrain is very exciting. There is a lot of positive energy." I cannot wait to come back here, this time with Red Bull, especially after a complicated weekend in Melbourne. We could see that our car was competitive and I like the Bahrain circuit, so I cannot wait to get back in the car and get to work. Next news: Perez more optimistic over Mexican GP future. Racing Point's Sergio Perez is more optimistic than he used to be over the Mexican Grand Prix future in Formula One. Mexico rejoined the Formula One calendar in 2015 and has established itself as one of the best attended events on the calendar already. However, a change of authority has created doubt over the future of the publicly funded event. Mexico currently joins Spain, Britain, Germany and Italy as venues who are yet to secure their respective futures post-2019. But, after speaking negatively about Mexico's future during pre-season, Perez, the sole representative on the grid, is now more hopeful of positive news. "It's looking a bit more promising lately," he told Motorsport Week. "I really hope that for Formula One that we don't lose such a big venue. It's been the best Grand Prix in the last 4 years and I hope we get to see the Grand Prix more often in the calendar. Also for my country, I think we need Formula One because it's a great exposure. It really shows how great is Mexico as a country, so I'm optimistic, so I'm more optimistic than I used to be. There are some talks, I obviously don't have the full details and it's not my job to really comment on that. It's just that things probably aren't as bad as they were, so there might be some hope." Next news: Kvyat could replace Gasly at Red Bull. Russian racer Mikhail Alshin believes his compatriot Daniil Kvyat could replace Pierre Gasly at Red Bull if he doesn't improve. It was a season opener to forget for Gasly, spending most of the race in Melbourne behind Kvyat in the Toro Rosso as the returning Russian went on to claim the final point in P10, while Gasly departed empty-handed in P11. Alshin, who now competes in Le Mans and the World Endurance Championship, accepts that while it is too early to write Gasly off, he does hope that his fellow countryman can force his way back into the team that dropped him back in 2016. Speaking to Russian outlet Sportbox, Alshin said, "It was very good to see Kvyat showing his character and not letting Pierre Gasly go past in Melbourne. It is hard to know why Gasly drove so inexpressively, but if Kvyat continues in the same spirit, we can all have hope that Daniil could move to the stronger team. I understand that such thoughts may be premature, but for us this situation is, of course, positive. It was a much stronger Sunday for Gasly's Red Bull teammate Max Verstappen, who finished ahead of both Ferraris in P3, netting the first podium for Honda in Formula One since Silverstone 2008. Both Toro Rosso and Red Bull are in an engine partnership with Honda for 2019, and Ailsham predicts Kvyat to be a consistent feature of the top 10 with the Japanese manufacturer's much improved power unit. "I don't think that these places will be much higher than the result in the Australian Grand Prix," Ailsham said. "Still, Toro Rosso is not Red Bull or Ferrari. But with the right updates and without technical problems, the team will consistently fight for the top 10. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to share and subscribe to your channel to get the latest sports news around the world. Wished health and success. Goodbye.